You guys got to go out there and see the what's on the door on the outside before you go.
Okay.
Because it's awesome. I mean, I got it done. I'm like, it's, this side just has the.
You
The
tell us
flyer.
now?
Right. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
not
yeah.
right
So we all want to
now.
get up and
No,
go.
we have
over
to
the-
sit for the next hour
Can
without
we go look
knowing?
quick?
Yeah, it's not that awesome.
Oh.
So, it's just the spy picture I got. Enter discreetly. It's got a spy.
Oh.
Yeah, things are going on.
We're
Don't
inside.
bug me.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I was very proud of it, so take a look at the spy I found on clip art. So, so this is it. Darn it, I wanted to get 10. We got 5, but who knows, maybe there's 5 stragglers still coming in. And, I have here, for those of you who might not know who I am, well, I can scratch like the first half of the talk. This is going to be short today. I published 2 books earlier this year called Feed Your Angel and Looking Out My Back Window, Volume 1. This is the first talk and or book signing I've done since they were released. Thank you for coming. It is getting videotaped. It will be on YouTube, so maybe somebody will watch it that doesn't know who I am, So,
Yeah.
so there you go. Yeah, see, there it looked like there's a crowd. So both books, Feed Your Angel and Looking Out My Back Window, have the phrase, God is calm, love is open, in the introduction. It's a phrase I come back to often in my own mind. I use it as a mantra for meditation. I use it while I'm getting acupuncture or massage. Periodically during the day, when I'm going to sleep at night, God is calm, love is open. The first half, God is calm, is very important to me because I often find myself getting caught up in the hyperactivity of the moment with the voice that narrates my life. The narrator likes to freak out and worry. It's anxious and demanding. It's never satisfied. And yet, this is where people spend most of their time. We're in our heads with this voice creating tension and anxiety about things that haven't even happened yet, and feeling guilty and ashamed over things that did happen, things which we wish we would have handled differently. That voice knows everything bad we ever did and takes every opportunity to use it against us. It also is constantly seeking to recreate the best moments of our lives. It uses the past as a roadmap, and it's very uncomfortable with going outside the routines we have set for ourselves. In the book Feed Your Angel, I call this our fast mind. And so, because this is a book signing and all that, I thought I'd read a little bit from a couple of the books anyway. So from the book, Feed Your Angel, the fast mind has a tendency to take over. It is relentless because it's always there, it never shuts up, it bounces from subject to subject, and it knows all the reasons why we can't do or say or be the things our heart longs for, and it's relentless. Does it shut off when we sleep? Not really. We simply enter into a different level of consciousness. How would you feel if someone outside your own head started talking to you the way your inner voice does? They never shut up. They bounced from place to place. They were always critical. They had conversations with themselves. Do you ever do that? Have a conversation with yourself? Take both sides of an argument? I think maybe we should replace the carpeting in this room. The current stuff looks a little raggedy. Yeah, but that's expensive, but we just bought a new car. The old carpet isn't really, but that's true, but the new carpet that I want is on. So, yeah. You get the picture. We have these conversations with ourselves all the time. How many people are in there? I mean, really. What if our thoughts were somebody outside of our body, sitting on the couch, having this carpet conversation by themselves? We'd slide over, right? Maybe find a way to get the heck out of there. That person's a lunatic. Yet every day we don't search for the love that exists in the seat of our consciousness. Every day we don't actively seek to enhance our relationship with God. We're giving that lunatic more control of our lives. The fast mind loves routine, it's quick to anger, it loves to control all situations, it's easily rattled. Of course, there is also a mind called the slow mind, and from the same book. There is a part of you that sits back and watches. Who you are is the one who sees. You are a spiritual being who is having a human experience, and you live in the seat of consciousness. Behind it all, you are there. I call this part of us the slow mind. It's the part that knows only love. When we're in sync, when we feel like we're in the zone, or very close to God during prayer or meditation, we are getting to know that part of ourselves. And when we have a head versus heart discussion with ourselves, it's the part of us that's the heart. It's where our intuition comes from. Have you ever had something laid out in front of you that looked great on paper, but you just had this feeling you shouldn't do it? The seat of your soul is your connection to God, and it's where we all reside. We just don't visit that part of us enough to follow its guidance. I have often said that to me, conscious contact with God is the most important thing in life. And for me, in many ways, I believe that God and love are synonymous. So how do we bring more God, more love, more light into our lives? We have to get in touch with that part of us that knows only love, which is our slow mind. That being said, for me, the phrase God is calm is a way to remind myself during times of turmoil. When the fast mind is going crazy and the lunatic is freaking out, that this has nothing to do with God. I don't need to let the lunatic control me. I decide how to react and treat the situations I get into on a daily basis. God is calm. God is calm. The second half of the phrase, love is open, is equally as important to me. It's a constant reminder to tap into the loving, kind, compassionate place within me and live from there as much as possible when dealing with others. Our egos like to judge. What if we could just see everyone with love? It's almost impossible to do. The people in your life who make you crazy, that's your test right there. Can you see them with love? God is calm. Love is open. Get calm and meet people from a place where you are heart to heart and soul to soul. And your relationships will change. We can get so caught up listening to the lunatic on our couch, we can forget that we have options. We're all free agents. If you have a job you don't like or a terrible relationship, you can get out of it and go another direction anytime you want to. Most things are like that. You don't like your car, your house, buy a new one. Move. When we start thinking about making changes, though, the fast mind can really freak out. It gives us all the reasons not to do it, to stick with the things the way they are. We're creatures of habit. The longer we have the habit, the job, the relationship, the house, often the harder it is to consider making a change. So we do weird things. Like we stick with things we don't even like just because it's convenient. We never try to do things our heart yearns to do because of our own fears and insecurities. This was what Thoreau meant when he said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. There's another way, though. We can realize that we've been given an incredible gift here. We get to live on earth. We get bodies and minds to navigate with, and everything is amazing. So why aren't more people happy? We're out of alignment. We're living lives we designed years ago and just stuck with. We're spending time in ways that don't make us happier. We're not even trying things that might be fun because we're afraid. Fear is the worst life strategy you can have. Love is the answer. Love. Love. love is open. Please open your hearts to all the things that are possible in life. You do not have the time not to. Have you ever seen a photo of Earth from space? We're this little dot. Little dot. The Earth is this little dot in space. And we are one of 7.5 billion with a B dots on the dot. That's how many people are on Earth. It took 13.5 billion years to create this moment in time. Each one of us, 7.5 billion ants on the ball we call Earth, will get like 80 years here. It took 13.5 billion years to get here. We get 80. We're a blip. We're nothing. You know, in the course of... One thing's for sure, every one of us is going to die. So, my next book, conveniently, is called Everybody Dies. And here's an excerpt. You guys get to hear it before anyone, from that book. None of us know the exact date and time we're going to die. If we did know, would it change what you did? Would you live life differently knowing you only had a week, a month, a year to live if you knew the exact date and time it was going to happen? It might. Let's say you visit your doctor for a routine physical and he tells you, well, been some great it's been some, advances.
Yeah.
Great technological advances. Yay! All right. Since you were last in, and I can tell you with certainty, you're going to have to edit that out, you're going to die a week from today at 2:30 in the afternoon. There's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Get your affairs in order. Wow. A week. You have one hard, fast week. 7 days left. That's it. With only 7 days left, you'd want to, would you go to work? Maybe, I don't know. I don't think I'd go to work. You'd probably want to get together with the people you love, have as much fun as possible under the circumstances, tell them how much you love them and what they mean to you. Would you watch TV? Would you argue about politics on Facebook? Maybe you would. Hard to say until it actually happens what any of us would do. But my guess is with only 7 days left, you'd live life differently. What if you had a month? One hard, fast month exactly to live, 30 days. I think you'd change. Not quite as drastically as you would knowing you only had a week, though. It wouldn't have the same sense of urgency. And if you had a full year, you probably would continue going to work and arguing politics on Facebook. But that year you might start looking at everything and everyone with a greater appreciation for what you have. It would be hard to take anything for granted with so little time left. So how much time do you have left? That's the $64,000 question, and the answer is we don't know. Could be today, or tomorrow, or 50 years from now. We don't get to know ahead of time, but it will happen. Everybody dies. It seems like our default setting when it comes to death is this: it's a long way off. And because of this, our sense of urgency to create positive, loving moments, to spend time with our families, to help others whenever possible, is compromised. We take for granted that we'll have time to get to whatever it is we want to do later, and let our days be wasted away with things that have little or no meaning in the long run. Our lives are much too short to be complacent with the time we have here. This is not to say we have to seek out every person we ever met who's ever meant something to us and let them know how much we love them, or quit our jobs or stop watching television. What we need to do is know what makes us happy and live from that part of us as much as possible within the framework of our life as we are given it. Because when we are happy, we are loving. And when we are loving, the world has more love. And everyone is lifted up. So what makes you happy? Hanging out at the beach all day? Well, you could quit your job and hang out at the beach all day. Until you lose your house and start begging for money to get by. But then you probably wouldn't be very happy. What we need to do is figure out how we can live in the world today, make enough money to live comfortably, which is a different amount for everybody, and do it in a way that we lead the happiest, most fulfilling lives possible. The only way I know of to do this is to know at the core of our being what is and or isn't important to us. What are the things we'd like to get done? What are the things we love doing? What are the activities we'd like to add in or get rid of that we never seem to get to? Are we missing out on leading a happier, more productive life because we just never gave it much thought? We absolutely do not have the time to not give this more thought. We need to get our priorities straight. Life is constantly tugging at us in many directions. It is a never-ending push-pull relationship. We have the ability to control it, but often it controls us. The problem is we don't know what we don't know. And too many people just go through life without ever looking at what, if anything, could be done differently to bring more joy to their lives and the lives of the people around them. We need to examine and think about what are the most important things to us and design our lives around that. My next book goes on to examine this in great detail. One of the things I discuss in there is the idea that who we are, our lives as they are today, are lives that we built. And they're totally based on our own perceptions of who we are, and what we're capable of. What if they had mind stores at the mall? Would you buy yours? Why not? You had free reign to do whatever you wanted with your life, and this is what you did. If you don't think you'd buy the life you're living, why wouldn't you do anything you could to live a life that brings you more happiness and joy? You don't have time to live any other way. How is it that I published 0 books for 59 years, then 4 books this year? Even though I held the idea of writing a book called Feed Your Angel in my head since 2011, I never really moved forward to accomplishing that goal at all. I just kept thinking, I'll get to it someday. We all have that stuff, right? Like a shelf in our minds where ideas go to be handled someday. Well, at a time in my life when I felt I needed some guidance, a friend of mine, Alicia Wilfart, who is one of the people that the Feed Your Angel is dedicated to. She runs a website called Yoke and Abundance. Really good blogger. She became a life coach, and I knew her well enough to think she would be a good person to work with. So we set up some sessions. During those sessions, I told her about 2 things that had been on my someday shelf for a long time. Do a 4-part speaker series on topics to be included in Feed Your Angel, and to write and finish Feed Your Angel. I also had this wild idea that I should take 3 weeks off, go to Florida by myself to write Feed Your Angel. Well, she loved both ideas, but she also pinned me down a bit. Like, the speaker series sounds great. Do you have a venue in mind? When do you want to do them? Well, let's set the date, book the venue and get it done. Well, I mean, so we did, it was a little scary. Pull that someday off the shelf, blow the dust off it, and make it happen. In Feed Your Angel, I call this the power of will. Pull a someday off the shelf. Someday I'll do a speaker series, and change it to an I will sentence. In January of 2018, I will do a 4-part speaker series at Moraine Park Technical College, and see how it feels. Is it exciting? Do it. Do it. Otherwise, you'll never know. If it's not exciting enough to do it, get it off the someday shelf. Somedays never come unless we make it so. That speaker series is available on YouTube now, and it's the precursor to writing Feed Your Angel. The link's available on my website, hoodiedave.com. Then she had me set a date for Florida and writing the book. Much consternation here. And for those of you who are following me on Facebook, you know that consternation was the word I couldn't read. Consternation, okay. I pronounced it right, I think. 3 weeks off of work, go to Florida without Lori, the expense. I wasn't sure how she'd feel. I didn't want it to create bad feelings. I wasn't sure I could write a book in 3 weeks. Man. The lunatic on my couch was going crazy. But I did it. I told myself, whatever I wrote, I'm publishing. Even if I hated it, I don't care, I'm publishing it. Whatever, I'm writing for 3 weeks and I'm publishing whatever comes out. Because I needed to pull Feed Your Angel off my someday shelf. I can't even begin to tell you what it feels like to get those two things done in those 4 months. After thinking about it for years. 7 years I thought about writing that book. I wrote it in 3 weeks. I had a lot of 3-week periods I could have written that book. I didn't write it. What's on your shelf? Pull it down, blow the dust off, set a date, go. You won't regret it. The Feed Your Angel concept comes from talks I originally started giving at treatment centers to recovering alcoholics and drug addicts. Thank God there's only 5 of you. It stems from the old cartoons and or movies we've all seen where there's an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, and we're trying to make a decision which way to go. It's usually portrayed with both angel and devil equal size and proportions, but that's not always how it works in real life. One side or the other takes control. When I was in my mid-20s, I had a 300-pound demon on one shoulder and an angel on life support on the other. I had many days where I took the phone off the hook, this was pre-cell phone, closed the windows, laid in my bed, and questioned whether I wanted to live or not. My obsession with drugs and alcohol almost killed me many times over. When we let our ego define who we are, we will very seldom make the right choices. My story is told in detail within the pages of Feed Your Angel. But the bottom line is, at the point I quit doing drugs and alcohol, my mind still saw myself as a failure. You know, just quitting drugs and alcohol doesn't change your mental state. So how do you change a poor mindset? This is where so much of the work is for people in addiction, and it's basically all of it. Feed Your Angel is subtitled Overcoming Our Addiction to Ego because we all seem to have that addiction. We let that voice in our head control what we do. We can change the narration though. We just need to realize it's possible. Then get to work. And changing the narration is a lifetime job. Another blurb from the new book. Ooh, you guys are getting all kinds of good stuff. We become who we think we are. Do you think if we took the brain from Richard Branson, or really any super successful business person in the world, but for the sake of argument, let's say Richard Branson, and replaced your brain with his, and I'm not talking just the physical brain here, but the thoughts, the opinions, the emotions, the attitudes that go with it. Richard Branson basically moves into your life. Would he live his remaining days doing what you're doing? No way. He thinks way bigger than anything most people would ever dream for themselves. He'd be a gazillionaire again in no time. The only reason this can't be you is your belief that it can. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to get you to see that we impose a lot of limits on ourselves that have no basis in reality other than our belief that it's so. At birth, we're given a body and a mind, not the other way around. The body and the mind are the tools we get to navigate through our time on earth. It's much easier to see our ability to control the body than it is to understand our ability to control our minds. You want to touch your nose? You touch your nose. You want to lose your place? You lose your place. The body won't just take you somewhere against your will. It won't just wander off on its own while you're in there freaking out. We control our body for the most part. The mind, though, the fact that we can control the mind isn't always as easy to see. And this is the last little blurb from the new book. What if we started looking at our minds as something we could pull out and look at? We could see all the stuff we put in there about everything that has ever happened in our lives, how we feel about it, what our thoughts are, what our emotions go along with those thoughts, and start looking at it with the realization that we control the mind, not the other way around. This can be of service as we try to design our lives now and going forward. Everything is available that we believe is available. Our minds get so caught up with events and things in our lives and the surrounding feelings, we seldom take the time to stop and look at the mind itself as a thing. An issue to be dealt with. Maybe there's a few ideas and attitudes that need to be exchanged for us to move forward. Don't reset your priorities to an old self-concept that no longer serves you either. If you desire change in any area of your life, you first have to see that change as a reality for yourself and move forward seeing that change as already accomplished. This is now your reality. You believe it, and then you'll see it. You get to choose the programming your mind will use to navigate your life through. The mind itself might fight you as you try to create some new habits and patterns that it isn't used to. Step back and relax. Release. Pull your mind out. Mentally pull your mind out. Don't chop it up and actually look at your brain, because it'd be hard to see it without your brain. And look at it. You can converse with it if you'd like to. Maybe something like, look, mind. You got your mind. Look, mind. I know we've been doing things this way for a long time, but I don't see any benefit to continuing that habit, so we're trying something new here for a while. So sit back, relax, and let's see how the new idea works out. We control our lives, but in order to do so, we need to first realize that as a fact, then make incremental changes to live more in line with our own beliefs and attitudes to create more happy and joyous moments. Because when we are happy, we are loving, and when we are loving, the world has more love, and everyone is lifted up. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this book. I absolutely love this book. Looking Out My Back Window, Volume 1. It's the first 52 blog posts in book form. I'm on number 99 now, so the second one will be coming out in a few months. Every time I look at this book, I'd be freaking out telling everyone how awesome and important this book was if someone else had written it. Have you read it? My guess is maybe one of you has. I don't even know if you have. But
Every Sunday, dear.
yeah.
Sometimes Saturday.
Yeah.
It's just one of the worst marketing moves, ever. A month after I released Feed Your Angel, I released Looking Out My Back Window. So Feed Your Angel is outselling it like 10 to 1, and that's a shame. It kind of hurts me because this book is getting overlooked and it's amazing. I'd like to close today with a couple readings from this book. My first one is blog number 43, which is my last blog post from Florida when I was there, writing Feed Your Angel. The chapter title is Love, Relax, Release, Rethink, Retreat, Revives. This is my last looking out my back window post from Florida. Next week I'm back in Wisconsin. Then I have a book to type, edit, get cover art for, and sell. Done. That'll feel good. 7 years in the making, 3 weeks in the doing. It's a much different book than the one I set out to write 7 years ago, that's for sure. This experience in Florida, well, I can see why people do retreats. I had no idea what I was in for. It involved a bunch of words though. Retreat was the first. In the back of my mind, I had this idea of renting's a word too, I guess I didn't catch that one. Renting a place in Florida and going off by myself to finish the book Feed Your Angel. But my mind kept telling me all the reasons I couldn't do it. I mean, 3 weeks off from work, that doesn't sound like me. Kind of doesn't sound like me. Doesn't sound like Suit Dave. Hoodie Dave, love the idea. So anyway, I lost my place again. But my mind kept telling me all the reasons I couldn't do it. 3 weeks off of work, that doesn't sound like me. A 3-week vacation and Lori doesn't get to go? Good luck selling that to her. What about the expense? Why does it have to be Florida? And on and on. The fast mind was going nuts. So I shelved it. Put it on the shelf. Never said anything to anybody. Took the idea out once in a while, and one day I said, you know, I got to get this done. This is the only way I'm going to get to do it. And I started looking at Airbnbs. I found one that looked amazing in the area I wanted to be, at a price that was certainly palatable. Lori was non-committal at first, but somehow she agreed, and I booked it. I've never really done anything that I'd call a retreat before. This trip is way more retreat than vacation. I had this great idea of writing, I had a plan when I was going for Feed Your Angel. I had this great idea of writing 15 chapters, each taking 20 minutes to read. So I was like, you know, it's going to be this, I'm going to write this much on this day, it's going to be, I had my little schedule all worked out of how to do it. I got here and encountered a couple more words. Relax, release. The release came hard and heavy on day one. I had no idea what a wreck I had become emotionally. How could I? I didn't have time for that. It was just like my first few days in treatments for alcohol and drug abuse. Open the floodgates, we have issues here. Interspersed with interesting emotional episodes was a speed of living I haven't had in a long, long time. No TV, no stereo, books and the internet. That was it. Very quiet. The tree house is in the middle of 12 acres of pines. There's no sounds out there. There's a river, but it's far enough away you don't even hear it. No human interaction, unless I left the building. I meditated every day. I finally meditated every day. I can't even begin to tell you how that's changed in the 2 weeks I've been here. Meditation day one was, let's just say I could feel the tension. Now 30 minutes is easy. I'll go up to an hour at times. This trip has already changed me. I've had 4 people tell me they feel it when they see and talk to me since I've been here. 2 are from back home in Wisconsin. 2 are people I met in Florida. Two people I met in Florida in 2 weeks told me they saw a difference in me. Which brings me to the last 2 words. Rethink and revise. Every once in a while it doesn't hurt to look at everything in your life and just rethink it. Just because it's how it's always been or what you're comfortable with doesn't mean it still serves you. Sometimes we live with decisions made years ago when we were different people. We don't change because we never gave it much thought. Give it some thought. There are 7 billion gazillion things you could be doing in any given moment. Make sure you live the life you want to live, not just the one you got comfortable with. Then revise, change jobs, stop watching TV, start a fitness program, learn to play piano. Whatever it is you always wanted to do, but never made the time for, make the time. Change the things you can change. You get one shot at life. Make sure you love it. Do you love it? Because the bottom line of retreat, relax, release, rethink, revise is this: love. There's an ocean of love within us every second of every day if we'll just slow down and tap into it. Love really is the answer. And one final reading from looking out my back window. I didn't actually write this, but it's included in the book as an addendum to blog number 4. Blog number 4 was entitled Legacy. I've used this story several times before when giving talks. It's a fairly well-known one, I guess, but it gets right to the heart of what I've been talking about tonight. It's the story of the fisherman and the businessman. There once was a businessman who was sitting by the beach in a small Brazilian village. As he sat, he saw a Brazilian fisherman rowing a small boat towards the shore, having caught quite a few big fish. The businessman was impressed and asked the fisherman, "How long does it take you to catch so many fish?" The fisherman replied, "Just a short while." "Then why don't you stay longer at sea and catch even more?" The businessman was astonished. "This is enough to feed my whole family," the fisherman said. The businessman then asked, "So, what do you do for the rest of the day?" The fisherman replied, "Well, I usually wake up early in the morning, go out to sea, catch a few fish, go back and play with my kids. In the afternoon, I take a nap with my wife, and when evening comes, I join my buddies in the village for a drink. We play guitar, we sing, we dance throughout the night." The businessman offered a suggestion to the fisherman. "I have a PhD in business management. I could help you become a more successful person. From now on, you should spend more time at sea and try to catch as many fish as possible. When you have saved enough money, you could buy a bigger boat and catch even more fish. Soon, you will be able to afford to buy more boats, set up your own company, your own production plant for canned food and distribution network. By then, you'll have moved out of this village to Sao Paulo, where you can set up headquarters to manage your other branches." The fisherman continues, "And after that?" The businessman laughs heartily. "After that, you can live like a king in your own house, and when the time is right, you can go public and float your shares on the stock exchange. You'll be rich." The fisherman says, "And after that?" The businessman says, "After that, you can finally retire. You can move to a house by the fishing village. You can wake up early in the morning, catch a few fish, return home and play with your kids, have a nice afternoon nap with your wife, and when evening comes, you can join your buddies for a drink, play the guitar, sing and dance through the night." And the fisherman's puzzled. "Isn't that what I'm doing now?" The moral of the story: know what really matters in life. You might find that it's already much closer than you think. Maybe you're in the middle of a race you don't need to be running. God is calm. Love is open. Both books I published this year have that phrase in the introduction. The books I've written, the music I've recorded, and the talks I've given are part of the legacy I'll leave behind when I'm gone. Thanks for coming tonight as I continue to try to figure it all out. God is calm. Love is open. Heart to heart. Soul to soul. Both of the Florida books end with these two lines. It was, when I got to the end of Everybody Dies, I thought it sounded a little familiar. And I went back and looked at Figure Angel, it was the exact same. And I thought, I'm leaving it. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I love you. We are one. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I have books, if you don't already own them. Laurie, would you like to purchase them?